The coverage of this rally, though, has largely revolved around two things. First, a racist comedian who was part of the program before Trump even spoke, who said some truly vile things, targeting Latinos, calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. That's a quote. Mocking black people, Jewish people, Palestinians. Really horrible stuff across the board. Now, none of this should exactly be surprising. I mean, Trump has built for himself quite a body of racist and xenophobic work over the years. We've just shown you a couple of the headlines there. And overall, the reaction, though, to last night in many ways has been good for the Harris team because it sparked an outcry, even though it's not surprising. And I mean, the truth is, just like Harris said today, this is really nothing new.
I think last night Donald Trump's event in Madison Square Garden really highlighted a point that I've been making throughout this campaign. He is focused and actually fixated on his grievances, on himself, and on dividing our country. This is not new about him, by the way. What he did last night is not a discovery. It is just more of the same and maybe more vivid than usual. Donald Trump spends full time trying to have Americans point their finger at each other, fans the fuel of hate and division, and that's why people are exhausted with him. That's why people who formerly have supported Donald Trump, have voted for him, are supporting me, voting for me.
Sure, it might have been more vivid, as she just said, but it's yet just another reminder. I mean, just 8 days out from the election of exactly who Trump is. And the Harris team also didn't waste time putting an ad on the air saying exactly that.
A floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
I will never forget what Donald Trump did. He abandoned the island and offered nothing more than paper towels and insults. Puerto Ricans deserve better. As president, I will always fight for you and your families. And together, we can chart a new way forward.
Now, besides all the racism in those 6 hours, the other big headline that seemed to emerge from last night is about a secret plan Trump said he has with his little buddy, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
And I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a secret. We'll tell you what it is when the race is over.
Now, when the two major takeaways from a 6-hour-long big closing message rally 8 days out from Election Day, or 9 days out, I guess, yesterday, are about how racist you are and speculation about your secret plans to steal an election, it's pretty clear you don't have a whole lot else going for you. And at the end of the day, this is all very revealing about what Trump and his team are thinking right now. It tells us that they think they can win like this. They think they can close out this campaign on racism and fear and hate. They think that will win. They think that will work. But if that doesn't work, then don't you worry. Trump has a secret plan with Mike Johnson. That's what last night told us. Hatred is the closing message, and conspiring with Mike Johnson seems to be the backup plan. Joining me at the big table tonight is conservative attorney George Conway, Politico White House correspondent Eugene Daniels, and former spokesman for Hillary Clinton, Philippe Reines. Okay, I will just say the vibes over here are pretty, because you're a journalist, so you don't have any vibes, but these vibes are pretty calm.
Yeah.
Okay. But let me ask you, because I just gave my summary. I mean, it's 8 days now. It was 9 days last night. What does last night's rally tell you about Trump? Those were the headlines that emerged.
It's just more of the same, except he's accelerating. He's getting worse, and the people around him are getting worse because they're just catering to his desires. And he, that comedian was the perfect warm-up act for him. I mean, you saw some of the headlines that you put up there before. I mean, look, he's the guy who basically said we should trade Puerto Rico for Greenland because Puerto Rico is full of dirty people. He said, he talked about Haiti as a shithouse country. He said, people said shithole, and then the Republicans denied it. Remember that, saying he didn't say that. And the reason why they were able to die is because he used a different iteration. He said that he didn't want. I mean, he had this crude remark about watermelons last night, and he used to say he wanted guys with yarmulkes counting his money and not black guys. He wanted, he's been all over this is racism. He is a racist. He called me once moonface. He is a complete racist.
Well, I mean, some of this is why the notion that this is new or they're kind of walking away from it. I'm like, give me a break. Okay, let me ask you, Philippe, because it's hard in these campaigns at all times, but certainly the last week, and especially running against Donald Trump, which you have been in these rooms a week out of running against Donald Trump. It's like evil whack-a-mole. You have to decide what you respond to and what you don't. So what kind of discussions, if you're the Harris campaign, watching what Trump is doing, knowing what their proactive messages, are you having? What are you deciding day to day?
Well, I think he's helping that process along, because if someone just came out of an induced coma yesterday and they had to decide who to vote for in the next couple of days, this is a great encapsulation of it all. Last night, as you said, in 6 hours, it's really been a perfect reflection of the last not just 6 years, but 9 years since he started his campaign by knocking, rapists and other criminals coming from Mexico. And today, we saw the clips that you have of Vice President Harris, who is talking about the future, talking about ambition, talking about looking forward. It was interesting. I don't know why, probably because I spent too much time on these things, but I went back and I read the debate transcript from last month. And you know what word Donald Trump never uses? Future. And I started thinking, you know what? I don't remember him saying it that up, because he's too busy rewriting the past. And that's what we see at nights like last night. And I'll skip ahead to tomorrow. Tomorrow, the vice president's going to be standing pretty close to where we are, talking about what happened on January 6th. And that is an incredible reminder of this is a choice between two people. If this guy gets elected, he's going to pick up where he left off. Where he left off was applauding people who overran the Capitol. He left off where he was doing everything he could to just throw out ballots, basically. And, to answer your question, like this 72-hour window or 48-hour window is putting her best foot forward and his accurate foot forward. And the truth is that we all need to realize that Donald Trump's true enemy is within his own head. And, but we should be thankful for it, because it's great that he can't pretend that he's anything else. And look, I think what's been funny is his team has been so happy about how last night went. You know what? Let's do a rally that every night for the next 8 days. I'll chip in to help get Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, right. You can air it on your feed. It's all good. Let me ask you, because Philippe mentioned the speech tomorrow night. There are always many closing. You could say it's a closing message speech, but there are many closing messages of a campaign. Because if you look at what they're doing on TV, the Harris campaign is doing basically split between abortion, economy, and democracy, turning the page. What are you hearing about the speech tomorrow night? What are, from your reporting, should we be expecting from it?
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be both, for a lot of voters, an introduction of Harris, right? She's still having to do a lot of that bio work, and she's obviously going to talk about Donald Trump. And I think the way that she has done it, I've heard it's a longer speech, maybe sweepier.
I've heard it's going to be personal, too, which is interesting. Yeah.
Sweepier than maybe we're used to. Yeah. But it's not just going to be about January 6th, right? What we've seen over the last few months as her campaign has come to this end is that she started not talking about Donald Trump that much, right? But what her campaign and what she is feeling is that they feel like he's getting worse and darker, right? That is in their eyes. And objectively, his words are getting worse, right? And getting darker. When you look at his speeches, and we did a check for Politico, 20 of his speeches, darker, more racist language, more xenophobic language than we've ever seen before. Now, just as experts that watch these kinds of things, you're going to hear that from her, and something she loves to say.
As in calling that out,
exactly,
and how it has gotten darker.
How it's gotten darker, how it's gotten worse, and that you don't have to choose to live like this. And one thing that she really loves to point out is that he doesn't talk about you, the people, right? That's something that you're going to hear
you heard
from
her
folks
say that tonight,
over and
too.
over and over again.
Let me ask, because a lot of the approach that they've been taking, George, now you've been long with her, but is appealing to conservative Republicans like yourself, or independents, or moderates, or people who may not always check the box for Democrats, by having Liz Cheney out there, by talking about democracy. What do you think? Is personal and her background compelling to that group? What else do you hope to hear from the speech?
I think all of it's compelling. Because her personal background is compelling because of the contrast with Donald Trump. Everything she is talking about is compelling because of the contrast with Donald Trump. And I have to say, it's just gratifying and wonderful to see how they are closing this campaign with these attacks on Donald Trump by saying, see, we told you so. I mean, look, you go back 4 years, you had the Lincoln Project basically pointing out this guy is bad. He's bad, he's bad, he's bad. And, that's important to do with this guy because he is bad. We tend to get used to how bad he is. And that's the reason why, he still kind of exists the way he does, is that we've gotten so used to him. But fortunately, he kind of receded from the scene for a couple of years because he was deplatformed after January 6th. Now we're seeing him in his full glory. And now he's under more pressure than ever before. And now he's crazier, more obnoxious, more dangerous than ever before.
And to Eugene's point, it's important that, Donald Trump runs like he was never president, like he doesn't have a record. And whatever the phenomena is of people having not so terrible memories of his first term, it is very dangerous that they think that way because they think, okay, we've already seen that movie. I can live with it for 4 more years. But it's not the same movie. It's the sequel to Scream, where it's just that much bloodier. The trajectory he's on with his
Worse
thoughts,
actors.
the trajectory that he's on with his thoughts, his language, his health, his mental health, his cognitivity. I mean, if he, God forbid, is elected a year from now, Joe Biden is going to have the biggest I told you so laugh in American history. And that's what people have to think about. Not just the guy who throws paper towels sometimes, and like, oh, that's funny, that's stupid, whatever it is. This guy is saying what he wants to do. I've been sued once in my life, and it was by Donald Trump. And, there are people, I mean, you're a journalist. You and I might be sharing a cell in 6 months from now. And, but people laugh it off. It's not funny.
No,
and they need
you're right.
to listen to what he's saying. And they need to realize this time that there's an apparatus around him that is more competent and more focused than 2016. They were the gang that couldn't shoot straight when they first came into the White House. They couldn't get anything done. Now they've learned, and I think they've also learned how to really just make him marginal. Like they're going to get the things done that they want, whether it's Project 2020, whatever it is. And he's just going to sit there and say, yeah, go ahead.
There were no